Hi there. Welcome back to another episode of Get to Know Us. And this time it is with Petridisch. And today we are celebrating the 3-year anniversary of their album Hit Rendition. And Hit Rendition was a collaborative co-release between Grimalkin Records and their label Fish Prince. So it was a special release for both of us and for both labels. And tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be hanging out on our YouTube channel in the chat while watching the visual album for Hit Rendition by Petridisch. And I hope you'll join us. We'll be able to ask them questions about the album and chat with them. And it starts at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tonight. The pre-save link for it is at the top of our link tree in our bio. So we hope to see some of you tonight. And we've been having technical difficulties, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, this works. We were able to chat in a video call on Instagram and Messenger, so if this doesn't work, then we know it's Instagram's fault somehow. It was not. So let's see. Fingers crossed. Yes!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess it was like fourth, fifth, sixth time a charm. I don't even know where we're at.
I lost count.
Oh
But
my
we did,
God.
oh, it's
It's
good.
working. You're here.
It's working. Yeah.
Yay. Yeah, so it's just, how are you? How's your day going though? Other than this weirdness.
It's going pretty great actually. I'm was finishing up a cassette layout for the next Fish Prince release, and the group that I'm working with, they're called Glass Remnant. The album is just beyond, above and beyond, like so much that I've heard recently, and the cassette layout is just as interesting. Like,
Oh, that's cool.
I initially put just the cover on the front, and they were all like, "No, put another picture there instead. The cover works better with this word on the other end of the J card." And I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah,
It
that's
is
cool.
it is cool. It is really cool when a release works really well. Uh,
Yeah.
it's there's nothing like it really.
Yeah. Well, congrats on Hit Rendition also being
It's
there for 3 years in the world.
3 years. I can't believe that. It does not seem that long ago, and in other
Yeah.
instances, it does seem that long ago. So it's been like seeing when you put up that the thing with all the quotes. Like
Yeah.
I haven't seen those in 3 years.
I
That
know.
was really cool to see. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I have been trying to keep up with that with all of our releases. It actually started falling through the cracks last year, but I'm trying to get some extra help with it, so that as albums keep coming out, we can do that. Because I think like we've had so many great writers and publications who've like continuously, supported our releases and our work, and it's also just a really nice way like to thank them again too for like all the support they've given us. And I mean,
Absolutely.
like Houdini Mansions and Counterzine. I mean, like, they were just so instrumental in helping like Grimalkin get out the word on our releases early on, and Travis and Gray are both like really really cool people, and um, of course, I
Gray
miss
has
them.
had
I miss them.
nothing. I know.
I miss their publications, but I mean, like, yeah, they're both really cool people, and yeah, and it's just really nice to be able to call back to the albums, and with music releases having such a short album cycle, um, we're trying to combat that because, like, just because something comes out and then like a week later nobody remembers, like that doesn't
Right.
mean that the awesome music still doesn't exist. So,
Right,
um,
right.
you
Oh, the time
know,
has expired for you to check out this one, so move on, please.
yeah,
Not,
exactly.
no, no, no,
Yeah, so
no.
just trying to like keep celebrating the artists that we're releasing, and so that, yeah, so just making those quote graphics, this was part of that, and just thanking all the publications too that have written about it. It's just nice. It's nice for me too to look back on it and read over them again and be like, oh yeah, and then like with
Well,
the
it's like
listening party.
it's a part of Grimalkin's thing, you know. It's the
Yeah,
record, you know, all the records. They're all part of this wonderful label, collective, what have you, you know. And it's all like every record has a story to tell within that story, you know. And it's so it's
yeah.
yeah.
And plus, like when you released with us, we were only a year in or so as far
I
as
know.
going as Grimalkin. So we also didn't have as many followers maybe then either. And it's like we were putting out great music since the beginning, and it's just
Yeah,
nice to be able to
yeah.
celebrate them every year and say like, look at this music that we've been doing and these artists that are really cool. So
Well, I
and
really
yeah,
appreciate it. I appreciate you being around and bringing attention to this and for everything that you do in general. So
oh well, thank you.
I
Yeah,
think
so I guess.
like Malcolm is a powerhouse.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, yeah, like I guess let's get into it.
All right.
Yeah, I always love hearing about people's like first experiences as becoming like a listener or lover of music. Usually it's when we were much younger, and it's nice to hear like whatever story you might have as far as how that goes or how that happened or a favorite album or song or whatever it is you want to talk about. I always love
Okay.
hearing about that stuff.
I want to tell you that my first real from my earliest memories, my very 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 earliest memories involved music and records and MTV because my parents let my brother and I just go through their collection and play their records on our Mickey Mouse record player
Yeah.
and ruin them. But I just had access to my parents' collection ever since I can remember. They just let me take records and listen to them. So I would bring it. Like I remember bringing a copy of Sergeant Pepper's out because the artwork was so crazy. You
Yeah.
know, and I was just I don't even know if I really integrated that music because I was just so taken with the artwork. I would stare at that
Yeah.
cover forever,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. So I definitely my parents, you know, they allowed us to play their records whenever. And let's see. Um so that's generally my first experience with music and like watching MTV. You know, my
Yeah.
parents. I remember them. I don't know how I remember this because apparently this is an 80 or 81, but I remember them sitting me down. I remember watching the first MTV broadcast as a kid, like when they first aired that. It was late. I wasn't supposed to be
Yeah.
up. My parents were, and this is important. This is important. You need to see this. This is going to be really important.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it just defined everything for so long, or at least a section of music business. But it was so just overtaking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. And let's see. The first. Okay, so you know, going back to my parents, my father would bring me to started bringing me to a used record store when I was maybe in the first or second grade called Cheapo Records, and they are in Central Square in Cambridge. They still exist. They're still
Oh,
there.
cool. Wow. Good for
Yeah,
them.
yeah. They specialize in R&B 45s from like the 50s and
Oh,
60s and
wow.
70s. They have a whole wall of 45s that they're selling. They're still selling
That's really
um,
cool.
of mostly R&B singles
Yeah.
from yeah, yeah.
That's cool. I love 45s.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first record that I ever like bought with my own money, though, was when I was out on a trip to one of these to Cheapo, and I felt like I had to get something because
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with anything around me really.
Yeah.
Um,
We're
so
pretty
I
young.
saw Bugs Bunny in a Santa costume, on the cover of a record called Holidays, and I
Yes.
said, "This is for me."
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
re- I,
Yeah.
re- I remember the song still. It's a little
Oh, that's
embarrassing.
funny.
I still remember that tone and the lyrics. It's really
Like
wild.
silly stuff, I'm sure. Like
Oh
fun.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Bugs Bunny going, "I love snow." There's a song about how much Bugs Bunny loves snow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. That was the first record I ever bought. The first band I ever started collecting, because collecting has been such a big part of my music fandom,
Yeah.
was in the second grade. It was 1986. My parents took me to the local record store, and I picked up the Bangles, Different Light.
Oh,
And
wow. Yeah.
my
Yeah. I
father,
had that on
my
cassette.
father chose the B-52s, Bouncing Off the Satellites,
Oh, yeah.
which was like their like really slick radio pop
Yeah.
album. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's still great. It's still great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I love them.
it's one of my favorite albums still to this day is that one. It just had such an impact on me. I'd never heard them before, I'd never heard of
Yeah.
them. I didn't know what their whole deal was, but it was just sounded like a whole lot of fun to me as a kid, It was just like they were
Yeah,
having a
they are a
great
fun
time,
band.
And I asked my dad, I said, "Can we trade records? Do you want the Bangles?" And he said no.
Hey, don't. There's nothing wrong with the Bangles.
No,
I
it's
was able to have
I
fun
like
with that.
I resigned myself. I took that Bangles record up to my room and I played the hell out of it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really cool. Yeah.
yeah, but
So,
the first band I ever collected was the B-52s because I wanted Bouncing Off the Satellites and my father wouldn't trade it with me, so I got
you had
my
to
own
go get it
copy.
yourself.
Yeah, and then every 2 weeks, instead of an allowance, my dad would bring me to Tower Records to pick up a new catalog record from the B-52s. Just
Oh,
like
that's cool.
going
Yeah,
back in their career. Yeah, and that's I still have some of those old B-52s records from the
yeah.
second
I do
grade. I still
too.
have some of
I
those.
I have some on tape. Yeah,
It's
still.
crazy.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I mean to kind of tie this all together, but music has always been the largest part of my life, and from the earliest memories are of music in my life,
Yeah.
and it's hard to imagine, um, you know, uh, what it was like without it because I don't really remember.
Yeah,
There was
me
just
neither, really. Yeah.
always music around.
Yeah, it was the same for me too. So I feel like I've just kind of grew up with that kind of love of music and yeah, so when did it kind of um come to you like that you wanted to try doing that you were
Oh,
wanted to start making music and writing music and recording music like how was that process or development?
okay, so always, as a kid, writing little songs in my head,
Yeah.
and writing really silly lyrics and just had these songs in my I used to record cassettes with my brother of songs that we wrote.
Yeah.
And yeah, just on like a little Wallensack tape recorder,
Great.
just with the mic built in,
Yeah.
and we just shouted everything into this mic and clapped our hands as loud as we could to keep the beat.
Yes.
And yeah, that was the first songs. We were kind of like that. But what really made
Do
me,
you have any of those tapes?
I do. My grandparents kept them in
Oh,
fairly
wow.
good shape. So, and unfortunately, the tapes are old, so they're a little warbly.
Yeah.
But you can hear my voice. I'm literally like 4 octaves above where I am now, just like
Sure.
singing,
I
very
think
high
it's good
voice.
probably to hear. Um, it
You
might
know,
be a sample gold mine for you. I don't know. But that's really fun. So, but when did you start doing it like more, I don't know. Like, yeah, so what happened after that? Like,
oh,
did you
okay,
switch?
okay.
Yeah.
So, and as custom is where I grew up, in the fourth grade, that's when the musical instruments were thrown at us,
Yeah.
by the school. And, oh, what do you want to play? What do you want to learn to play? And I chose drums. And I actually played drums up through high school.
Oh,
I was
wow.
I
That's
played.
cool.
I was the timpanist in the school band.
Yeah, that's
um,
cool.
it was a lot of fun, but it was. I always had keyboards. I always had little synths, or like a Casio or something like that that I would play
Yeah.
stuff on, and I guess what really started it was a friend lent me a tape of Philip Glass's North Star at some point in early on in high school,
Yeah.
and said to me, "Oh, this is so minimal. You'll love it." Kind of derisive, and he was totally right. I fell in love with it, and I was just really taken with how that repetition and how his method of adding notes, subtracting notes to phrases, and just it mystified me completely, and it drove everyone else bonkers. But I this was before he was like more
Respected? Yeah.
accepted, as like
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
style is kind of heard everywhere now.
Yeah.
A lot of imitators
Sure.
but but yeah. So hearing Philip Glass and just like it sounded so easy. Like, so I would just do kind of lines up and down the piano or the keyboard and try to sound like Philip Glass. And that's one of the earliest compositions, just really kind of aping Philip Glass. And then
Yeah.
a little bit later, I saw Clockwork Orange, and what really struck me about that movie was actually Wendy Carlos's music. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
blew a hole in my head.
Yeah.
And I had never heard synthesizers sound like that.
Yeah.
I've always heard them in sort of novelty, or like sound effectsy kind of things,
Sure.
but Wendy Carlos, I mean, she was making music,
Yeah.
like this was music that it was just so listenable, and yet so, I mean, she was doing stuff with the Moog synthesizer. I mean, she helped invent it,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah. And it was just, I remember getting the soundtrack, her soundtrack, not the one with the cover, the white cover with Malcolm McDowell in the middle, but there's
Right.
this one with a darker cover, and it's all of Wendy Carlos's music, for Clockwork Orange, and some stuff that was left out.
Yeah.
And I heard that, and I was determined to learn how to do analog synthesis after that point.
Yeah.
And
That's cool.
it was, and so I was, I was in, my 10th grade of high school, at the time, and they were offering independent studies to young composers,
Oh,
and, and
wow.
and
That's
and I
pretty
actually
cool.
had to convince them that I was a young composer. I really had to tell them, no, listen, this is what I want to do. Can I do the independent study program,
Yeah.
and they said, yeah, sure.
That's
And
great.
they offered me access to MIDI for the first time. I used MIDI,
Oh, wow.
and also found something in the middle school closet of the music room, which was an ARP Odyssey, which
Oh,
they let
wow.
me take home. So
That's,
for about 2 years, I had an ARP Odyssey in my bedroom,
oh, wow.
and I would just sort of make bleeps and stuff with it, but
Yeah.
I thought I was Wendy Carlos, I was like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it came to a point where it's like, this is hard, like creating things that were actually listenable on a monophonic synthesizer, like, and
Yeah.
it really made me appreciate Wendy Carlos and how she did things, and the sound she got out of that one machine.
Yeah.
But the independent studies were probably where I wrote like my first compositions under my own name.
Yeah.
And that's yeah.
Yeah. And
um
how did you start Petridisch as a project, and like
oh
how did you choose the name and the spelling and kind of like, yeah, all that stuff. I'm just curious, like how did that lead
shoot,
into, yeah, when did that come about?
not about 2015.
Okay, okay.
I was doing music under my own name for
Yeah,
so long, and
I
just
see.
and after a while I started realizing that if I was doing stuff under my own name, it kind of limited what would come out.
Hmm.
And I don't know, that could have something to do with like, identity or what have you, but
Yeah, I thought it makes sense because when you have like a project name, it's almost like you can separate. You can
that was
separate from your
that was exactly
from you, the name, the person. Yeah.
exactly. And so I just thought that Petri dish was the petri dish, or a petri dish is, cultures and all sorts of nasty stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
have I been saying it wrong? Because that was the other thing. Like, I wasn't sure
no,
if it was the
no,
same
no,
thing.
you say it right on. Petri dish is right. It's an
Okay.
affectation for me. Yeah.
Because I mean, it's not the same spelling, so I was just like,
No,
yeah, I've never asked you.
no.
And I'm
But I was,
notorious for saying things incorrectly, so it would not surprise me. So yeah.
but it was just a name that I chose to free myself.
Yeah.
To kind of just say, you know what, if I want to do this kind of music, I can do this kind of music under that name. If I want to do this kind of music, I can do that kind of music under this name. And
Yeah.
um, it just really freed up a lot musically for me when I decided to go under a name instead of for Millette, which,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is a cool name, though.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, I think I asked you like the first time I met you, is that really your name? Like, I've only met one other Thor in my life, so it's just it's interesting. It's a cool name.
I well, thank you.
Like
I've
it could
met
be
like
somebody
one,
giving themselves
two.
that name, as a project name.
Excuse me.
But anyway.
I've met two other Thors in my life, and the first one that I met didn't want to tell me their name because they were like, I don't know, it was weird, but it was like, no, you go first. No, you go first. What's your name? No, what's your name? And we never told each other our name, and it was the same name.
That's
So
hilarious.
I was told later that this kid was named Thor. So
Yeah.
it was like,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about Hit Rendition, and whatever you want to talk about as far as like how that came
sure.
about, or what it's about, or whatever you want to talk about.
All right. uh, excuse me. So Hit Rendition, I don't remember, Grim, whether I wrote you or you wrote me. I don't remember.
I don't either.
I don't
I don't
remember.
either.
But I finished an album called Rev Dun Rev, which was basically this like Vocaloid centered almost mini opera, like really composed and really like I really took time to add as much composition to that record as possible, and I really sort of not overstepped, but pushed boundaries, and
Yeah.
and so it was like, what are you going to do next? And like I said, I don't remember who contacted who first,
Yeah,
but I remember
I can't remember
that
either.
we decided to do a record together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if I recall this correctly, when that was a thing, when it was like, okay, I'm going to write a record for you.
Yeah. This was
And
pre-pandemic.
yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, those songs just sort of came out. They as most of them do. You know, they
Yeah.
just like it actually literally did. Like the first song I wrote for that was Hit Rendition 3, which has Vocaloids and it's almost like a like militant type tune with the Vocaloids.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but I remember playing that for somebody, and they said, "What are you writing now? What is this? Like, it doesn't make sense to me." And that actually that was my key to keep going that way. It's like yeah. But hit rendition. The it's like I have to go through it in my head because it's that first side is just kind of it is divvied up online, but it really is meant to be taken as one whole thing. And
Yeah.
so the second side is also kind of divvied up, and they are songs, but it's best when you listen to it as one whole thing. Anyway,
Which we
um,
will tonight.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I have
Yeah.
not watched the video in like a
I
year.
haven't either in a long time, so it'll be really nice.
It'll be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like anything else I've done, those songs just they came out of like those ones in 2019. I probably wasn't doing too well. uh, so like I remember writing a record for Gray around that time too, and it sort of tied into like health issues and stuff, and so I wasn't feeling all that great, and maybe that comes out in the recording, but still,
Yeah.
I'm still very proud of it, because it's a true expression. For
Yeah.
the longest time, I didn't listen to that record, and
Yeah.
I
It's
picked it
really a
up,
cool
and
album.
I picked it up, and I went, you know what? This has a mood. This is, it's but yeah, it was like I was proud of it again, and remembered our collaboration and such, and that's such an integral part of Hit Rendition is the
Yeah, and
collaboration.
we should definitely shout out Mabel Harper. Don't do it,
Mabel
Neil, for that.
Harper, Don't Do It, Neil,
The art.
uh,
I
pulled
mean, her
together
artwork
an
is.
amazing
Yeah.
cover for
Yeah.
that record.
It
I
is
felt
very cool.
spoiled.
It's a very cool cover. Yeah, her style and art is really cool.
It
So
just
yeah,
seemed to work. It worked so well with like what the music, is just like I felt it was a perfect visual representation of what was going on in the music.
yeah, yeah. It does
Yeah,
fit the music really
just sort
well.
of mysterious, a mysterious sort of what's going on there? What's going on there? What are these figures doing here? You know,
Yeah,
very,
yeah,
yeah. I wanted to. I mean, anyone can see the cover online. Go to Grimalkin
yeah,
Records, Bandcamp.com. Look for
yeah.
the Hit Rendition cover on the bottom of the page because it's one of the first releases that Grimalkin put out. And
Yeah, and I mean, just a shout out, I guess, folks within Grimalkin, like I would say, like it just shows your release, along with almost every one of our releases. There's a collaborative effort, a lot of times, like where different people are doing different things for the release, like whether it's part of the cover art or someone helped with the formatting for the graphic design or like
Mabel did
mixing and
like all of
mastering,
that.
things like that. Yeah. She did all of that.
Mabel did it from scratch, and she just right from the bottom up, and created this amazing cover for the record.
Yeah, she
And
came up with the whole design concept, right? Like you
yep,
didn't really
yep.
give her any
I,
direction that way.
I just gave her. You remember the stills that I sent you? You made stickers out of them.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
what I sent her, just for reference. That's all I sent her were those stills, and I
yeah,
said, go off those,
yeah. And you can
and
see the
she
color a
pulls
little
out this grandiose
bit.
vision.
Yeah, it's got
Um,
like stuff on it that kind of seems like it's some sort of like secret, not secret society or anything, but like you know what I
Almost.
mean?
It does have that feel. It does.
Yeah, like there's some kind of like the puzzle thing that like only certain people can understand what's going on here with this.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Yeah, and I wanted to know too if you wanted to like show us a little bit around your
I will
production
show
setup
you
or
what
like
I'll show you
yeah, or
my
like little
desk. How I do
instruments.
this? How we do this here? Okay, that's my desk, and I'm looking here. Just I don't want to like. Ooh, okay,
I know it's
so
always so hard to do it on this because it cuts half your camera
yeah.
off with the
So,
live Instagram.
so
But yeah,
now what? Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's obviously my very dirty keyboard, very dusty, very.
you
That's what I
can't
use.
tell.
It's just an M audio. Oh, cool. That's my M audio, and that's basically what I used. That what I used it on Hit Rendition with a bunch of with the actually on that I used a Farfisa VST, which I don't really use hardware that much anymore. There was one thing I did want to show everyone here, which was
Yeah, because you said that
the
you don't
guitar,
usually
the
use
guitar.
guitar, but you did on Hit Rendition half the second side or this whatever.
I did.
Yeah, which is
And then
really
I never
cool.
picked it up again. It was weird
You
because it
got
was so
inspired.
hard. It was so hard. It was so hard to do that. Like I'm not a player, but it was just like kind of like, well, that was cool. So I'm gonna go back to electronics now and and be
Yeah,
able to just
yeah.
have. But you can do so much with the guitar too. If if you know or don't know what you're doing,
Right?
there's a lot that can come out of that instrument.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah.
but that's really cool. And yeah, I know you're working on some new projects now or a new album now. And yeah, is there
Yep.
anything you want to talk about that?
Sure. It's not a new album per se, although it feels that way because all Petridisch stuff, although Hit Rendition was long for a Petridisch record.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
almost it was almost 30 minutes.
Like a double album.
Um but what I'm doing recently is I've actually gone back to pen and paper and I wrote 8 piano etudes and performed them and have recordings of them, and I'm going to release them at some point in the near future.
Oh, very
Um,
cool.
yeah, it was just it was due to a bunch of suggestions by actually my brother. He was like, "Why don't you do a record for piano?" And I'm thinking, I don't play piano. I play the organ. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I just used it was just in Ableton. I use Ableton. That's how I recorded Hit Rendition was in
Yeah.
Ableton, and it's was just played the piano parts in Ableton and then tried to sort of clean them up, the performances,
Yeah.
and that didn't work. That didn't work.
Okay.
It sounds better with mistakes. So
Okay.
we're going with that. Petridisch stuff has mistakes left and right. It's just the way it is. This stuff is just
Yeah.
created so fast and so and then the idea is done, and then I just go, okay, we'll move on, moving on to the next idea.
Well, they
You
add
know,
to it, I guess, your sound. Like I don't know if people really hear it anything as a mistake. I'm gonna say.
I appreciate that. I appreciate hearing that because sometimes I listen back to my records and it's just like, oh, that's a wrong note. Oh, that's timed that's timed weird. But I think all musicians probably experience that. Where
Sure.
it exactly woven in
Yeah.
love mistakes. Yes. And they do add a certain character to what you're doing. If it's not
Yeah.
100% clean, perfect, you have poured over this for months, and
Yeah.
there's nothing. I totally am down with that too, and
Yeah, like
I'm
a
very
happy accident. It can take something to a different level sometimes or a different
right.
place. Yet you weren't
Absolutely.
expecting. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're trying all sorts of stuff in Spartan Jetplex too, like branching out and doing the loop sessions and
Yeah.
and now doing Grimworks, which is
Yes, which I
cool. Sorry
definitely
to put the
want.
focus on you. I
No,
just
I
like
definitely.
thought of all the stuff that you were doing.
I was going to bring up Grimworks to you anyway because we didn't really have time the other day because of time and stuff. But I definitely want to talk to you about like doing like a possible workshop in the future and helping with the being part of the production network. Then I just haven't. We'll have to talk about that. But let's
We
go
will
back to.
talk.
We're
We
going to
will
talk.
talk. That is so cool, and we will talk. That is
Yeah,
awesome.
you do.
Wow.
And I don't really know anyone who quite does like exactly what you do with music, so I really feel like that would be a really cool thing to just even do, um, like a workshop. Well, I mean, or it could be on whatever you wanted it to be on. But anyway, we'll get back. We'll get into that later, and we'll talk about. We'll talk. I'll reach out to you, and we'll schedule something
That's
to talk about.
that was nice.
But yeah, but back to your new project.
Yeah,
Your
I got these piano etudes,
yeah,
and they will be released sometime
yeah,
this year.
yeah.
There are gonna be there are versions that I did of etudes 1 and 2 that they're gonna be put out oh, by a label in Germany called Superpolar Tapes. They're putting it out
Oh,
as a
cool.
cassette single, Etude 1 and Etude 2.
Okay, cool.
They, you know,
So are,
it's yeah.
so
Um,
are these like things you've been working on and off that you've been going back to and reworking, or you're saying like
oh, you mean as
yeah,
far as
like yeah, I'm just curious because you were saying well you said your brother mentioned to you doing something on piano and then like I was just curious if this was like did you write this recently or were you going back and reworking other things you had and or
oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood totally.
no, I mean I think I
It's
maybe misunderstood too.
it's
Yeah.
all new. It
Okay,
was
cool.
they were written for piano. They were written for
Okay, okay,
my limited playing ability,
okay.
and etudes are supposed to be practice pieces,
Yeah.
and so I was thinking, okay, I'm going to write some stuff for me myself to practice,
Yeah, okay. Okay,
and
that's really
that's
cool.
that's how they sort of like how and then later on it was sort of like later on in the process of that it was like, okay, how can I expand the instrument? How can then I was thinking about doing things for the piano,
Okay.
as far as like sustain or like just trying to trying to get around the feel of a virtual instrument, like a VST, and
I see. I see.
figuring
Yeah.
out how it responds and stuff like that. And so they're really etudes for a VST piano. But
Okay, okay. Okay,
uh,
cool. Have you been able to play them on a piano yet?
yes,
Or yeah. Okay,
yes,
cool. That's
yes,
very cool.
yes, which was really exciting.
Yeah,
I
did you
don't
I'm
go
sorry, I
ahead. I'm
keep
sorry.
asking you stuff. Like, so did you like write them on the piano and then try to move it to replicating that or doing it on using VST?
I did record them initially on VSTs and in
I see.
Ableton.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so
Okay, so the opposite. You kind of did that and then went, that's really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know, it'd
Yeah.
be really cool to see, like, if you did a performance of that where you did, like, the version in the VST versus a version on the piano. I don't know. That'd be really interesting to me.
That
To me.
would be cool because the real piano is
Or even,
so different, it's
yeah,
acoustic. It's acoustic. So
right. Or even if you had, like, an A and a B side, that would be cool. I don't know. I'm just like, so if you want to do that, then later Grimal could help you with that. I don't know.
again,
I'm just
we
throwing
should talk.
inspiration out. Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, yeah, are there any other like projects that you want to talk about that you're working on before I ask
Um,
get into some other topics?
yeah, I'm trying. I actually at the beginning of 2022, I sort of made a vow to myself to collaborate more.
Oh,
with
cool.
yeah. So I've been working with a friend of mine named Stevie Sabrizi. They are an old friend of mine from my record store clerk days,
Oh, wow.
and they are writing lyrics, and they're a poet. They're writing
Oh, cool.
lyrics, and we're both coming up with song bases,
Okay,
and
cool.
there's actually the first song that we did together is on the Fish Prince Bandcamp under Petridisch
Oh,
plus Stevie Sabrizi.
okay. Okay.
um,
So
they've
we can
got
check that out on your Bandcamp.
yeah, they really added some really creepy lyrics and yeah, and just the vocal delivery. Their
Oh,
vocal
I see.
delivery,
Yeah, that
their
would be
vocals are
interesting.
so good, and
Yeah.
they've really stepped into their voice and as of late, and it was the first. We've known each other for years, and only this year we decided to write music together, and so that's cool.
Yeah, that is
And
really cool. And your music is often like I even feel like well for the Hit Rendition there just it does have a lot of like eeriness, darkness to it in a good way. I mean
I
like,
can't
but you know.
escape that.
I know, right? I think pretty much everyone who releases on Grimalkin can't escape that. Like, I don't know. But
I
yeah,
guess
I mean,
I guess I can see or hear that when thinking about all the different artists on Grimalkin. There's that thread of sort of just quiet,
yeah,
but it's also I feel like the stuff on Grimalkin is like also very positive as well, and
yeah, that's true.
inspiring. Let's just say it's probably very inspiring. Like it's. I remember hearing. I'm sorry, I'm not staying on topic here, but
I know.
I remember hearing the Madison Turner record, and
Oh yeah, that's great.
that that hit my heart. That and coming of age, Eli Owens. That
Yes,
the first.
yes, they're absolutely first.
Yeah,
They're so
yeah.
promoting. Yeah,
Um, but
but
that's
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And sorry.
no, no, that's okay.
And
Collaboration. You were
yeah,
talking.
collaborations. And I've been working with Stevie, and I've been talking to some of the artists on Fish Prince, and working, further with them. With There's an artist called Albinotron that I released in November, and we're starting to work on stuff together too.
Oh,
We've
that's
known
very
each other.
cool.
We've known each other for a few years now, and it's seemingly starting out very naturally, but it just started, so we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how that goes. But I'm and I'm also going to be working with an artist called Anaya Malkiel, who worked under the name Vilter for a while.
Oh,
Uh,
I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Anaya's great, and
Yeah.
we're constantly, not constantly, but when we do talk to each other, it's just like this words, just like talking about
Yeah.
working with each other and what we can contribute to each other's stuff, and it's really cool. And
Yeah, that makes sense that you both would work together. I could see it.
well, yeah, their music is, it's I feel a kinship with it.
Yeah.
Fishbirds put out a Vilter record, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, everyone should definitely follow Fish Prince if you're not following.
Follow Fish Prince. I'm putting out some really cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, it's
That's
very
all I can
cool.
really say is that it's going to be really cool, like I do with all the releases that I put. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
But no, but some of these feel like a long time coming. The next two that are coming up.
Oh,
So really, then they have to do with Barbara Morgenstern, who I released as well.
yeah.
Yep, I'll say it here. It's an Instagram thing. We actually found recordings of her first band,
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm going to be putting those out.
Oh, that's cool. How did you find them? Or like, did she find them? Or?
They were released. They were self-released. She was part of a collective called Nautic United, which had 8 members and 4 bands, and they just
Oh, wow.
shared members. Yeah, so it was like, you know, it was
That's very cool.
4 bands, and most of the members took part in it. 2 of the bands.
I
You
see.
know, so Barbara was in a band called Oof, which she played organ in, and
Yeah.
I'm also going to be reissuing some of their stuff. And but the other stuff that I'm really excited about is her first band called Ooze, which
Yeah.
there are 5 songs on this self-released German CD from 1994 that I found on eBay, and it was like,
Wow.
wait, this is that thing I've read about, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had to get it. I had to get it,
Is-
and I was afraid to tell her because I didn't know how she felt about it, you know. So
Oh,
it's been
right.
so
Like that.
old,
Yeah.
but she was really heartwarmed by the whole thing, and she said, "Do you want to release the whole CD with all 4 bands?"
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm doing the whole thing. You're just
Oh, that's
reissuing
cool.
the 4 band split
That's very cool. Are you doing it all on, besides digitally, are you doing it on like cassette?
cassette.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Very cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Yay, tapes.
Yay,
Um,
tapes is right. Oh, it's a perfect format. You know, just
yeah.
they have that warmth. You know, they're beautifully analog. And no, I mean, as much as I love vinyl, and I do,
Yeah. Me
oh,
too.
I do.
Yeah.
I no surface noise. Although that surface noise has a thing to it too. You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of comforting in a way. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't think I've ever asked you, do you like do your own dubbing or do you outsource that stuff?
I used to, but now I outsource because I don't have a way to do it here.
Yeah.
I don't have a tape deck. I don't have a dual tape deck. I don't have anything I can
Yeah.
record into. So
Yeah.
I basically I need a new receiver, and then when I get a new receiver, maybe I can get a new tape deck, and then I can
Yeah. Yeah.
start DIY tapes again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You should. But plus, like, probably some of the stuff you're doing, you might be doing like 50 or more, right? The run or
Yeah,
whatever.
well,
So it does start to
it
get a
used
little
to be
harder.
like 100, you know,
Okay.
and now I'm doing 50,
Okay.
just because the money is less and it's not as coming in as crazy. It was never crazy, but um,
I feel you. I hear
it's
you.
coming in like crazy, you know. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you're living large. Yeah, yeah, I hear you. It's like always like running a tape label is just like a labor of love for sure.
if I didn't love it, I obviously wouldn't be doing it
Yeah,
because it
there's
takes
no
up
way.
so much time, and it's
Yes.
a full time
Yeah,
affair.
I
Totally.
hear you. Yeah, I know, right? Like, but yeah,
When you,
yeah, it's rewarding. It's rewarding.
I feel like that Grimalkin and Fish Prince have something in common too. Is like that, and this is something I was going to get to later, but I'll just bring this up for a little thing right here. Uh, is that we both seem to genuinely love what we put out, and we support
Yeah,
our who we put out. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and
definitely.
that's something I'll get to more in detail later. But it's it's just it's cool when you're into it as much as you are, and you want to help artists, and you want to help people
Yeah,
get their music out there that otherwise maybe wouldn't, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know this is jumping all over the place, and I'm talking about all
No,
sorts
that's
of stuff.
okay. And you know what's funny too is like, so I met you in real life. You came all the way out.
I sure did. I
Yeah.
had these like True Blue points for JetBlue, and I was just like, I think I'm going to fly out to Richmond for one
Yeah.
day
This was
to go see
pre-pandemic,
Grimm play live in
which
a
was like,
basement.
so that was like also very early on in me playing playing live. So like,
I
yeah,
think it was
sometimes
like
you'll
your
have to.
third or wasn't it like your third or fourth or something like that?
I
Or
don't know.
fifth?
I'm sure I was awful though.
I liked
You
it.
don't have to say anything, but
I
I
thought it
get.
was great. I
But
remember.
yeah, you'll have to come again sometime, and like, I don't know if you ever want to play a show or something too. You should let me know. And
That would be
I've
really
been
cool.
we've been trying to do that again, and trying to like make some connections with some of the local venues about hosting Grimalkin shows more
That
like more
I'm
frequently, like quarterly kind of thing.
I'm really
Um,
glad to hear that. That's
yeah, and
awesome.
and I don't think I mentioned it to you, but we're having like a Grimalkin showcase, kind of like a little mini festival on August 21st at Fallout. I haven't put out like the official word. It's
Oh,
probably the first time I'm like saying it in public place, but it's going to be exciting. But yeah, if you can end up coming out, coming to make. I mean, I know it's a hike. It's a pretty long hike for you to come, but
when is
um,
it again? I'm
it's going to be a
sorry.
lot of people. August 21st.
That's
Yeah,
some time. That's some time to
yeah.
figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'll there's like half the lineup is coming in from out of town, so you'd meet a lot of people if you were interested. Like
I
Savan
mean,
will
I'm
be there.
interested. I would love to hang out with you again. I would love to meet
Yeah, to meet a lot of people. Yeah, Queen
wonderful
Paz is
artists.
coming from Texas, and So Nice Yesterday, Burko
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
Tom, they're
yeah.
coming in. They're coming from Baltimore. Baltimega is coming from Baltimore. Gosh, yeah, it's gonna be really something. Oh, Infinity Knives is coming in from Baltimore. Um, yeah, it's gonna be really special. Like, and then half of the lineups like locals. Like I'm playing, and Eli's playing, and Hunting Dog is playing, and
See, to me, that just sounds like a stacked show, and something I
it's
want
gonna
to go to. That's what
yeah,
that sounds like to me.
it's gonna be a blast just to like meet everybody in real life. Like, because several of the people I haven't met in real life, so just always like virtually.
I always love the fact that we've met in real life. I know it
I
was
know
once,
that was so cool.
but it was really cool, and I'll never forget it. It's like I met some wonderful people that night, really wonderful people, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So I did want to talk about so like with Hit Rendition, so the tape proceeds, so we always have artists choose where their tape proceeds go, and you chose Fenway Health, and I knew
yes, yes.
and I was just telling you how recently a tape of yours sold at Plan
Which is
9, and I was able to send them a little money again because it's
so
far and few now.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I wanted you to share your thoughts about Fenway and like why you chose them. And then I know you were telling me about some really cool mutual aid that was going on where
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are. So I would love to hear about Fenway and the mutual aid work
Okay.
that you know about. Yeah.
So I chose Fenway Health for the proceeds for the tapes to go to because really comes down to one or two things. But the main thing is that they are the only facility in Massachusetts that are providing dedicated transgender health care, and
Yeah.
that is absolutely super important to have.
Yeah.
And I know bunch of my friends have gone there, and I've never gone there myself, but I've been recommended it.
Yeah.
My friend Stevie actually was saying how great the trans support group is there, and
Oh, great.
like something I'll. Drop in on sometime. But
Yeah.
yeah. And they do a lot of. Their focus is on the queer community. That's their absolute focus. That's their queer owned, their queer run, for the queer community,
Yeah.
and
Awesome.
and they're just they in Boston at least you see their name come up a lot, and I think that's fantastic. That they have such a presence in Boston, and they have a reputation for being very good at what they do. And
That's great.
it's even just hearing it from my friends, they and it makes me curious too. It's
Yeah.
like, what can they offer? But but it's just all good things I've heard. So I figured that Hit Rendition, that would be a great place for the money to go for the
Yeah.
tapes. You know,
Yeah.
just that they're doing important work, and they're making sure access is there,
Yeah. It's really
and
important.
it's super important.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
cool.
so yeah. It always that makes me feel so good that you know, even in $4, you know, just any it's going their way. You know, I
Yeah.
really respect them and love them. So
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah, yeah. And if you want me to talk about the mutual aid programs,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay,
You were saying, yeah, you were, I
of
actually
course.
completely forgot. I remember you telling me about it. We were talking
I was
about it.
very
So
excited
good
about
to
it.
hear.
I was very excited about where one of them is coming from because it has to do
Yeah.
with music. But there's Mass Mutual Aid. You know, just I believe that's mamutualaid.com, or it's a Facebook group, I believe, actually, as well. That's the general Massachusetts Mutual Aid. But the one that I know better is Mutual Aid Eastie, or Mutual Aid East Boston, which is where I live. And they say I mean, there's no request is gonna get, they say right on their page that nothing, everything will be taken seriously. You
Yeah.
know, all the requests will be taken seriously, and anyone should feel free to go to them if they need it. And they're also run by an organization here in East Boston called Zoomix, which their whole mission is to help kids and teenagers who don't have access to music equipment be able to play live shows
Yeah.
and get together bands. And they have a firehouse. It's on the corner of one of the blocks out here, right outside my house.
Oh,
And
wow.
that firehouse has a huge mixing board in it and a stage, and they're teaching the, you know, kids how to do all this stuff too in this
That's so cool.
firehouse.
Yeah. It's
So
very cool.
it's like when I found out that East Boston Mutual Aid was run by them, it was just sort of like, oh, they're
Oh, wow.
so
Yeah.
great, you know, the fellow music lovers, you know, just taking that extra step to get, you know,
Yeah. I love when music crosses over in the mutual aid. So
yeah.
it's always, yeah, that's really great. Yeah. That's very cool. Yeah. And I guess like, so, the other thing I wanted to talk about that I always bring up, because, Grimalkin is trying to, make small changes within music or create alternative, systems of support and things like that, because there's just so many things that are wrong within the music business and music industry. And often even in like local scenes have their own issues. Lots of
Of
times they're
course.
very similar. And I always like hearing from folks like their thoughts on this situation, either to them locally or more generally.
Well,
Anything that you want to talk about that you feel is a problem, an issue, something you want to see changed, just whatever you want to talk about,
I
though.
wish the local scene would be more concerned with like people, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a period there where it was like between like 2018 and now, where it seemed like venues and bands and were becoming more outspoken and more into sort of political or socio-political or um, decolonization, you know, stuff like that, just breaking it down, you know,
Yeah.
and not having it run by white men
Yeah.
forever. So that's not going to be that way. It's not going to be that way as long as people like you and me are around. It's not going to be that
Yeah.
way. There'll be other
Yeah.
people too. There'll be other people
Yeah.
too. Yeah. But
Yeah.
also I just feel like lately, and maybe it is because it's, the pandemic, that
Yeah.
it happened. People are just really eager to play venues, it's any venue, and it
Yeah.
seems like the local music scene has forgotten about one venue which had some really kind of nasty stuff going on behind it.
Oh
And
no. Okay.
yeah, yeah, and it's like for a while there was like a boycott. People weren't playing there, people weren't going there. It was great. But
Oh, now I see.
but then all of a sudden, like they were just like all of a sudden I see people who wouldn't have given them the time of day before, like doing something with them. Like,
That's terrible.
hmm,
That's terrible.
hmm.
I have some vague memories of hearing about this, but it's like it's been a while. And obviously, since you're saying, so I guess they weren't like they probably haven't learned their lesson and didn't not and they
No,
managed
I
to
don't think so.
survive.
I mean, the whole thing. If you don't mind me telling, like what was
Yeah,
going on there,
sure,
yeah.
you can. Yeah, you can
There's
say whatever you
one
want.
club. I will name them by name. The Middle East. They had their owner has had a history of being absolutely horrible to his female employees, and
Uh,
horrible.
yeah,
And it's been now confirmed by people, and so they got rid of him. They got rid of the owner, and they
I
said, "Well,
see.
that's good enough." We got rid of the owner, so this isn't happening anymore. Come, but it's still for me, it's still a weird area. It's like, yeah, you got rid of the owner, but the issues are still kind of there,
I
and
see. Yeah. And
yeah,
usually when there's
yeah,
someone who's behaving that way, there's a whole group of people who are enabling it that know about
that's
it.
yeah, right, right,
So, I
right, right.
mean, if you get rid of the one person, that's not necessarily going to solve your problem.
No, no. Um, but I wish there was still, that I don't want to say I wish people still cared in Boston, but I'm sure people do. I'm sure that there are a lot of people that still. I've seen people say like, why are people still frequenting this club? Why are people still giving money to this club? And there
Yeah.
is a disconnect. There is a disconnect between some of us out there and like what's going on out there and what has gone on. And I've seen friends say, why are people playing the club still? And it's just like, yeah, why?
Yeah.
um,
It's like people have this thing where they can like forget about something after some amount of time has passed and
right,
then
and it's especially live music wants to come back. So like if they're one of the very few that are still around hosting shows, some people are gonna run, and they
yeah.
really want to. They just want to play,
Yeah.
and I was like that at one point, where I just wanted to play shows, and now and actually for a few years now, it's a lot more than that. I really make sure that
Yeah. Yeah, you
that
got
who
to
I'm
be
dealing
careful
with,
about
and
who you work with, you know?
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah,
Yeah.
um. But I was going to say also, so the local scene is just sort of blind, turning a blind eye to some of this stuff, and I'm not really into that.
Yeah.
Um, but you know it wasn't it's not the Boston scene of yore. It's not the music loving city like it was maybe in the late 70s and the 80s and the 90s. There aren't that many shows here, and when there are shows here, it's usually big acts.
I see.
Yeah, and there aren't that many venues for someone like you or I to really play. And
Yeah.
if there were, the pandemic kind of swept them away, or for
Yeah.
whatever, for many reasons. And yeah,
Yeah, I noticed, I mean, I don't live in Richmond, so, but from my understanding is a lot of like the house scene and that, DIY kind of house scene stuff has sort of I don't think it's come back. And honestly, like I wouldn't blame anybody for not even wanting to do anything
not
like that
wanting
because
people to come
it's
into
not
their house, and yeah,
exactly like it's just not it's to me it's we still are in a
it's kind of
pandemic, even if
dangerous.
people
It's
want to pretend.
dangerous.
Yeah, yeah, and but like it did seem to me like some of the, maybe a couple of the local venues seem to be, maybe it's just that Grimalkin is in a different place. Who knows? I really don't know. But it does seem like people are also now, the venues seem to be more receptive to having shows and things. Almost like, I don't know if that has something to do with the pandemic, like where like, obviously a lot of venues were struggling and some didn't make it because, there were no shows, like,
Right.
so
Yeah,
I
a
don't
bunch of
know.
venues closed down in Boston area. A bunch of venues closed down.
Yeah. So I don't
Yeah.
know. There's not a ton, and I really haven't played out too much. Honestly, like April 7th was the first time I even played out, and yeah, with the pandemic and everything, and they were doing like, you know, vax card or test, make
Oh
sure,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I
right,
mean?
right. Mask vax slash
Yeah.
yeah,
But
which is loose. It's loose, because then there's always that disclaimer of like, well, if you're not actively eating or drinking, you have to wear your mask. But if you're eating or drinking, you are welcome to take it off. And I remember being at
yeah,
a show. I went to go see Kristen Hirsch. Like for the first 2 years, that went by. I was just in my house the whole time. And
sure.
I went to go see Kristen Hirsch, and I was kind of appalled.
Yeah, but
I mean,
nobody's really wearing their masks, and
exactly,
because
and they're all
people are drinking.
drinking. Yeah, the constant drinking. So there's,
Yeah. It's a
yeah,
little
no,
bit, yeah, I have mixed feelings about it, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play this show, and we are booking some shows now, but it is kind of like, it isn't really completely safe. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
I think
right,
things are
right.
better than they were, and we have vaccines, and you know, I don't know. I guess there's medicine now and things like that you could take if you get it, but yeah, it's a weird time we're living in. We're living in really, really weird times. But I know of the one venue, Fallout, they were doing virtual shows and they had a setup to live stream and stuff. And so they don't do it for all their shows, but like we're doing the Grimalkin showcase thing there, and we're going to live stream it. So that's really cool. Like that's something I mean, it costs money and more work for a venue to do that, but that's definitely something that I wish was sticking around and staying in place, you
Well, it's
know.
accessibility. It's
Yeah.
providing accessibility,
And
basically.
like, and basically, like the owner was telling me, like, she was saying that the problem is it does take more work. It does take more work to do it, more people, more help, but also like there's not a lot of incentive for owners to do it because if you're at home, you're not drinking, you're not eating, you're not buying, you're not.
You're
So
not
like
consuming like you would if you were right,
yeah,
right.
it's like the financial incentive for venues to do that is not, it's non-existent basically, I guess, except for maybe some ticket sales that they could potentially get. But yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about in that,
There is.
on this
I
dark
wanted to bring up
topic?
more problems in music. I've noticed a kind of weird trend with labels lately. A lot of DIY labels and of course majors especially, but like even DIY labels, like there's a lot of sort of will put out one record of yours and see you later.
Oh,
And even Fish Prince was kind of like that in the beginning, it was a reissue label. So it was. And I'm really would like to see more labels getting involved with their artists, like sticking by them, like maybe a few albums, maybe,
support,
ask them
like some
back,
more, yeah, like
you
more
know,
consistent or substantial support. Because
yeah.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I think, um, yeah, I guess I never really thought about that. But yeah, I mean, because
It's,
I guess I haven't thought too much about it just because with Grimalkin, we are kind of like, people are always welcome to come back and release as much as they
the way
want.
to
So
do it. It's just the way to do it. You have a label, and You got to be there for your artists. You got to
Yeah.
be there for your artists. Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
know,
So this, yeah.
unless they screw with you completely, and then maybe you can kind of say, well, that didn't
Yeah.
work out. But luckily, that hasn't really happened. So if you know
Yeah.
if there have been issues, they've been worked out. You know, so at
Yeah.
least
But then
with this prince, at least, yeah.
I guess like on the other side of that, like I know of a band that, they kind of like they 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 signed like a 3 album contract. So then it's like they can't really go
And then
anywhere
they're
else. And then
locked in, you know. Yeah, yeah, and then it gets.
and that's not
I
good
can
either.
understand that, and it's not good. No, because
Yeah.
then if the label is demanding an album a year, you know, and that's some people work really well with deadlines and strange amount of
Yeah.
time to make things, but if I just feel like it's got to come naturally, you know. Like I don't know how you can demand a record from someone and you know
Yeah.
they give it to you and you say that's not good enough or it's not
Yeah.
long enough. You know,
Right. Right. Putting restrictions on what they're gonna. Yeah, that's not good. And I guess I don't know. My thought on like contracts like that is kind of like, well, like if you if you work well and you're fair and you're transparent and you treat the artist well the first time around, like if you just do a contract for 1 album, then like they're if it goes well for both of you, then they're gonna want to come back and do another album.
yeah,
Like, you don't need to like lock them in like multiple
no,
albums, which forbid them to
no.
release elsewhere. Because that's the other thing that I don't like. Like a lot of like several of the folks that we release like release on other labels too, and like that I feel like that's cool. Like why not? Like
And
you know what I mean?
I appreciate that viewpoint personally because
Yeah,
like I did a record for Grimalkin and then it was just it wasn't like, you know, I could just do what I was doing, you know? And I
yeah,
thought that's really cool and I do know that I can like if I really want to approach you with something that I could do that,
sure,
you know. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah. I just feel
it's
like I've that's something I don't really understand about how other labels work. Like you should. I mean, to me, it's like if an artist. Well, first off, people are their own people. They should be able to do whatever they want to do. Like you don't,
yeah.
a label doesn't own an artist. But on top of
Nope.
that, it's like if I had an artist go release on a bunch of different labels that release with us, like that's good. That's good for me and Grimalkin too, because like they're getting heard by different audiences and people, and like they're gonna still come back and release with us too. Like that's not a bad thing.
No,
You know what
no,
I mean?
not at
Like I
all.
don't see it that way. I don't see it like that way. So, but it is odd. It's like one of those weird music industry standards type things. Like that I feel like there's all these things that are like these unwritten rules that people just do and follow because, well, that's what people
Abs-
done. So we're gonna do that too. Instead of
right.
thinking like, is this really
Is this
best for Grimalkin or for my label? Is this really best for my artists? Is this really like I feel like anything you do, you should be that's the conversation you should be having with yourself, not like, oh, that's how everybody's done it, so I should do it that way too, you know?
right? No, no, no.
Because usually that's like a bad thing, actually. Most of the things that have been
I
done the
like
same way.
that we're both sort of, you know, that we both have we're both very invested, I
Yeah,
feel,
yeah,
in this work, you know, in this music work and
yeah.
whatever
Making
else
things
comes
better.
along with it.
Yeah, for
Exactly.
everyone, not
Exactly.
for ourselves necessarily, but yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that
yeah.
too.
Well, yeah, yeah, but yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but I guess to like bring it back then like to something positive, I always just sort of ask people like if they have anything they want to share as far as hopes or dreams for the future or um, words of advice to maybe other musicians or people thinking about starting a label since you do run a label, or yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, my whole sort of ethos with like music and being an artist and being a label owner is to try to bring some sort of force of positivity into the world, of some sort, that's really what I'm trying to do. And but also, have people tell their stories, that's really important to me, that people, when I put out music, that I'm not in the way of, I'm as little in the way of it as possible, um, and, I think anyone that wants to start a label or wants to start music should just do it. Really, like, just do it, because you really, the whole experience of creating and opening doors and giving people opportunities and giving yourself opportunities, for that matter. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really think of that. I don't think of that. I think of how it's going to help who I'm doing, who I'm representing.
Yeah.
But I strongly believe that anyone who has the want to support people should start a label and should look into, how that could be done with the means that you have. And, because it is about, you can still do a lot with not that much, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you don't get as far as,
Yeah.
at least on the surface, that's what I think. It's on the surface, as like the majors or something like that,
Yeah.
but running in a small indie label it's really fulfilling to know that you have helped give access to people, and that's at
Yeah.
least about starting a label. The one thing definitely want to keep in mind, is supporting the artists, and
Yeah.
how are you going to do that, and you know,
Yeah.
um, and as far as anyone, starting just a music thing, that's I feel like it's even simpler, because it doesn't necessarily involve like an insanely like business minded thing. You can just create
Yeah.
music, and people should just create music. People should be creating
Yeah.
music left and right. I want to hear more. I want to see more. I love what's been coming out, like in the last like 10 years or so, or 5 years, in
Yeah.
the DIY scene. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty mind blowing stuff, even at times.
Yeah.
And often, it's done by people who don't have classical training, or,
Yeah.
because things are so different now, where the computer allows you to express yourself musically, where maybe in the past you really would have to have like crafted your play, get your chops up, and
Yeah.
there's something to be said for that too.
Sure.
I like people who can play their instruments,
Yeah.
I like
Sure.
that. I like that. I came from playing instruments, so I enjoy someone who can play an instrument.
Yeah.
But I do feel that, like, that the ability to create something that's moving or emotional,
Yeah.
or impactful, does
Yeah.
not necessarily need a lot of money behind it. You
Yeah.
know,
You're not limited. And
right.
I honestly just feel like if you've never made music or art before, you should just do it for yourself. It doesn't matter even if you choose not
Release it, or
to
want to put
share
it out
it.
into the world, or share it. Yeah.
Exactly. It just improves. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done, or I don't even think I'd be here if I hadn't had a way to express myself through art and music. Like, it's just not personally, just the process of creating is just personally rewarding,
Yeah.
and and it's helped me like process, things that have been
You
really
don't need
difficult.
fame. I mean, fame is weird, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know. I just can only imagine what that's like. But and you know,
Like that shouldn't be the end goal. Like that's
no,
not a reason
no,
to make art or music is not to be.
no.
Yeah, exactly. That's how that's how I feel about it too. I just feel like people will stop and say, "Oh, well, I don't have talent," or "My goal isn't to be do this professionally or be famous at it, so I'm just not going to do it." And it's like, no,
And
your life
someone
would improve if you did it. Trust me.
exactly, and someone has those thoughts in their heads. They should be acting on it. You know, they should be exploring it. They should be reaching out and figuring out
Yeah. And if
like
they
just
don't
like
have the thoughts in their head, they should find them. That's how I think. I do. I really do.
everyone. I
I
want to
think
see everybody making music now.
seriously, like, or some kind of create. It doesn't have to necessarily be music, but I really do feel like our world would be a much better place if everybody was creating something just
Something.
for their own personal thing. I mean, it's definitely not going to solve the world's problems, but I
No.
definitely think I know for me, like I'd probably be like a much worse, awful person if I hadn't created all the art and music that I have done. So that's what I'm saying.
Aw.
It's given me like a place to put all that crap, that you deal with on a daily basis, or through
I
your life.
resonate with that.
Yes,
Yes, and maybe that's
that's
why
like
Petridisch
therapy.
sounds so dark sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But for me, it is a kind of therapy, and I guess I feel like if more people thought of it in that kind of way, as like a way to personally grow as a person, being creative, that we would be doing better as humans.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to talk about. But it's been like lots of fun talking to you, and I definitely
It has been
want to
so
meet up
cool
with you.
talking to you.
I
So
want to
cool.
meet up and talk with you soon about like the workshop stuff and the production network
That
the
sounds
Grimwork
fan.
stuff.
That's I. We gotta talk more.
Yeah, I will.
It's something
I will
like,
email you. We'll set
um,
something up, because I meant to bring it up, and then I was like, oh, I really was short. I was a bit short on time. We were meeting, so I was like, I probably shouldn't open that basket right now. Like, well, because of everything. But like, we could sit down and talk about that. Because I think it would be really cool to work with you more then. And
I think
but
it'd be really
yeah,
cool to work with you more too.
yeah. So I guess so.
Yeah,
Everybody who's there listening, tonight, 7 o'clock, come on out and let's
that's
watch the
only an
visual.
hour and 10 minutes from
I,
now.
yeah, we're gonna watch the visual album for Hit Rendition. If you haven't listened to Petridisch's album, you really need to. It's a really beautiful album. Um, you'll go on a really cool, dark and fun journey. That's how I felt like when I listened to it.
Dark, dark and fun.
I don't know. This is why I'm not a writer. This is why I'm not a music writer. And the
That's
visual.
true. That's so true. It's like
I think
that.
I told you that some of the songs were making me feel like I was like at some sort of dark, twisted, like I could be on like a dark and twisted Disney ride or something. I think I told you that when you sent me the album, but I meant that as I know like people have
I
various opinions about Disney World and Disneyland Disney, so, but it was just there's something about it that has that like playful, like I think that's where I was getting like the Disney from.
well,
um,
it's
but anyway, it was
as much as my music, people can take it seriously. Like I appreciate it just as much when people don't. You know, it's
oh
like
yeah, well
like
I took it seriously. It just was like I don't know. I'm this is
which I
why I don't write about
appreciate.
this is why I don't write about music, because I just say this dumb shit that's like okay, just never mind, just ignore me.
You're so good. You're so good. That's like me. It's like you're so good. You're so good. You're
Yeah,
so
that's
good.
about all I can say. That's really cool. Or I say things like it's dark and fun. So yeah,
I
but
think
the
dark
album,
and fun. I think that's so cool. That makes me blush on the inside and the out. So
yeah, and the visual album is really cool too. So and you'll get to ask Thor questions in the chat, and we'll have fun. All right, well
we'll
then,
have dark times and fun times.
yeah. All right, well then, hopefully I'll see you all. I'll definitely see you then at 7 Eastern Standard Time.
Absolutely, I'll be there. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thanks everyone for checking out this interview and this
Yeah.
conversation. You know, this
Yeah.
has
And it's going to
been
go up
real.
on our YouTube too. Of course, it's
Oh,
going to stay on
cool.
Instagram, but
Okay.
I have
Oh, that's
we have,
actually cool.
yeah, we
Hey,
have a playlist.
Chris. I just see Chris join. So
Oh,
say
cool.
hey. Say
Well,
the hey to Chris.
we have a get to know us playlist on our YouTube, and I upload the videos there too and put it to the playlist. So it's got like I think this might be like the I don't know. I think we're in the 20s at this point with interviews. I can't remember. I have to go look every time which episode this is, but I think it's like somewhere around episode 23, I think. So yeah, there's lots
Wow.
if you want to check out our other ones, they're on our
I
YouTube,
do. I
obviously
do. I
on
didn't
our
know there were so
Instagram.
many. I knew it was a series, but I didn't know there were so many. I do have to backtrack it and check it out. Check it all
Yeah,
out.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can put it on in the background when you're doing other things. But anyway, yeah, so I'll see you. Oh yeah, I'm having one with I see Michael Ryder is in the
They've
chat,
been
and we're
commenting
having
so much, saying such nice things. I
yeah,
think
their
that's
album.
really great of them.
Yeah, we're having their album Cycle is out this Friday, and we're actually doing I'm doing an interview with them on Friday, so that'll be
Oh,
fun.
I gotta check that. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and you should
My,
join our Discord too, because we're gonna have a listening party there for their album.
actually,
Or maybe
Discord
you already are
is
on
a.
our Discord. I don't know if you are, but
I'm not, but I've actually, as far as like communication and things like that, I think that as long as like a thing like Discord, if it's like done right, it can be really
yeah.
great.
Well, so Anna who makes music as Memoryville. Um, I don't know if you know her, but she made our whole Discord for us, and there's all kinds of cool channels, and it's a public Discord, but like when you come in, you got to read some rules, make sure that we keep the place safe and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really nice. It's a really nice, positive community of people, and if anybody wants to join that, like the link for that is also on our link tree, and it's like on our website, it's at the bottom of every page, like the link for it. So you just join. So, but anyway, but we'll see you on
Anyway,
YouTube. YouTube,
yes,
it's on YouTube tonight because we're watching a video. No, don't go to Discord, go to YouTube. All right. Well,
YouTube,
all
the
right. Well, I will.
red TV thing.
Okay. All right. Well, I will see you in a little bit then.
You totally will.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone, and
Thank you.
thank you, Grim.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Bye.
bye.